We like to visit places, don't we? I'm Joseph. This is Input English. The Input English channel provides comprehensible input for English language learners. This is a terrific way to improve your English. If you'd like more information on how comprehensible input works, I have a lot of videos on that topic. So I started out by saying we like to visit places. Indeed, we do. People love visiting places. So what kind of places do we visit? Well, really, all kinds of places. We hear about places from our family. We read about places. We see pictures of places. And sometimes we have an opportunity to go visit them. Frequently, we have a desire to go visit places. Sometimes we visit great landmarks or historical locations where extraordinary things happened in the past. Some visits that people make are for religious purposes. Sometimes the places we go and things we see on a trip are fairly whimsical and entertaining. I'd like to share one of those locations with you today. What I'm talking about is the Cadillac Ranch. You may have heard of it. There are certainly many references to the Cadillac Ranch online, and there are many pictures of it that you can see online. So let's take a deeper dive. The name Cadillac comes from the name of a brand of automobile marketed in the United States. Cadillac has a long history, and it is the premium brand sold by General Motors. The name Cadillac comes from the name of a French explorer, the founder of the city of Detroit. To understand this story, it is helpful to recall that during the 1950s and 60s, a lot of culture and art was influenced by aviation and space exploration. By the 1950s, it was common for airplanes to have swept wings, and rockets were depicted as having tail fins. These design motifs found their way into the automobile industry. Car makers wanted their cars to look aerodynamic and fast. To this end, many automobile manufacturers incorporated tail fins onto the design of their cars. Some of the best examples of this were the various models of Cadillac. Beginning in the 1950s, they put increasingly larger tail fins on their new models. Arguably, the biggest tail fins were seen in the 1959 model year. This evolution of tail fin design was noticed in the art community and was talked about. The next thing to understand in our story is that there were two architects and an art student who hatched the idea of building the Cadillac Ranch. Chip Lord and Doug Michaels were architects in the San Francisco area. They were interested in more avant-garde designs. One day, in a discussion with a friend of theirs, they expressed their wish to do architecture as if they were a rock band. They were aware of underground newspapers and underground movies. Why not underground architecture? Upon hearing that wish, the friend pointed out that underground architecture kind of sounds like an ant farm. That's where they got the name of their design group. They formed the Ant Farm. That group was founded in 1968. A few years later, they started developing their ideas for the Cadillac Ranch. They talked about the evolution of the fin design in the various model years. They discussed various ways to use Cadillacs in an artistic display. They came up with a design. They decided they wanted 10 Cadillacs, and they wanted to bury them nose first into the ground, letting the tail end stick up at an angle. They selected the angle of 60 degrees because that angle recapitulates the angle of the sides of the pyramids at Giza. They tossed these design concepts around between them and then started taking steps to make it happen. They got in touch with a fellow in Texas named Stanley March. Stanley was a businessman, a philanthropist, a prankster, and a television station owner. He owned a bunch of property in the Amarillo area in Texas. They worked out the details with Stanley and started to finalize their artistic construct, which came to be known as Cadillac Ranch. Stanley March gave them the use of a piece of property. He provided a budget of $3,000 to purchase these old Cadillacs so that they could be incorporated into this sculpture. The Cadillacs ranged from the model years 1949 to 1963. 10 were purchased. They were installed in a line, all sloping at the chosen 60-degree angle, evenly spaced. The tail fins were prominently displayed. The Cadillac Ranch display was opened to the public in 1974. It rapidly became famous. People were not charged to go see this display. For some reason, in the 1990s, it was decided that it was time to move Cadillac Ranch to a new location. A new piece of property was chosen. This new site was also owned by Mr. March. The new site was chosen to be about 2 miles to the west of Amarillo, along Interstate 40, adjacent to the frontage road. Cadillac Ranch was moved to this new location in 1997. Over the years, I think I have visited it a total of 3 times. At the present time, there is plenty of parking along the frontage road. One can actually see Cadillac Ranch from the interstate. Once one exits the interstate, it's easy to follow the frontage road to the location and find a parking place. There is a fence with a gate, but the gate is open and the public is allowed to come in. When we were there, there was a large vehicle with a window on the side from which they were selling cans of spray paint. Now, ordinarily, the application of spray paint graffiti to an object that is in public display is considered an act of vandalism. But with this work of art, it is considered normal. Over the years, the cars have been repainted a few times. When they repaint the cars, they paint them all the same color. And then almost immediately, people start spraying graffiti on the freshly painted cars. When we chose to travel to East Texas to view the total eclipse in 2024, we were driving toward Amarillo at the end of a day's drive. We had planned on staying in Amarillo. Just before we got into town, coming in from the west, there was Cadillac Ranch, so we felt compelled to visit one more time. I wasn't making videos at that time, and this YouTube channel had not been created yet. The plans were in here, but I was not prepared to make video. I did take some still photos. Here's a picture of all 10 cars that you can see all lined up, evenly spaced. This picture is closer up from the west side looking toward the east. I created this image allowing the sun to cast our shadow into the picture so you can see the shadow of me and that of my wife as we looked at the Cadillac Ranch sculpture. We don't ordinarily take selfies when we get to locations like this. I don't attach a lot of importance to visiting Cadillac Ranch. I consider it a famous, interesting, whimsical, and fun place to visit. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.